how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
I'm doing really good.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's very nice to meet you too. I was very excited for this call. I was very, very excited.
Yeah, me too, man. It was so cool to find you. I guess you found me or I found you.
I think you followed me, and then I just like clicked it, and I saw that you're based in Edmonton. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what? And then I looked more into your stuff, and I was like, whoa, this is like, you have to understand. I know you probably don't know much about me, but you have to understand.
Yeah.
I literally 60 to 70 hours a week of my life is like entrenched in languages. I have not. I mean, from what I've seen, like on your Instagram anyway, I don't think I've ever seen anyone who treats language teaching the way you do, and I was very fascinated to talk to you about it.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you reached out, and yeah, I'm glad to talk to you about this because this is my passion too. I've dedicated my whole life to it. So.
That's so crazy. I've never met another language person close to home. Not.
Oh.
I've met people who are learning languages, but not someone who goes like, oh, I like languages, I work in that, I teach it, and really, I met a lot of teachers, but I've never met someone who, and again, maybe I'm way off base, but just based on what I saw on your Instagram, like you're doing stuff that's different, very different.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, like how? Tell me your story.
Holy shit! Where do I start? Are you gonna bleep that out? Just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. So I was born in Bucharest, Romania.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Edmonton when I was in grade 2, grade 3, grade 2. And then, so I had to learn English as a second language, right? And then I started learning French in school and discovered I really love languages, right? And I continued with Spanish. I did my Bachelor of Arts in Romance languages, so I did like a major in Spanish and a minor in Italian and French.
Okay.
And then I realized, Spanish is my favorite, let's say. Well, now they're pretty much equal, but back then I decided it was my favorite. I was also trying to, like, seduce some people in Spanish. Anyway, let's forget about that. Okay, but so I fell in love with Spanish the most, so I decided to do a master's in Spanish.
Okay.
So I did that at the University of Alberta again. And then, I took 3 years away from academia, and I went to Italy to go teach there. So that was great. So for a year, I taught in Bologna, Italy, and I taught English there and some Spanish, and in junior high schools and high schools, a bit all over around Bologna. And then I came back, and I was like, holy shit, like, I want to start a language education business here, because I really liked the way, I had a really young boss in Bologna, like, she was so amazing, like, she was barely 30, and she was running these huge association. She calls it the Cultural Association for Interactive Learning. Okay. And so I learned so much through her and doing everything. She just put me in a whole bunch of different situations and learned a lot. And then I realized, Edmonton is a place that where people love languages, I think. We're very multilingual and people just travel a lot. So I realized there's a lot of like demand for language classes, right? Especially for Spanish and French, even Italian. Like there's quite a bit of Italian heritage speakers that kind of want to relearn the heritage tongue. So that's how that started. And then I decided to go back for a PhD. And so I'm working with Dr. Olenka Bilash, and she's at the University of Alberta. And she's like, the second language expert. Like she is the most amazing person I've ever met. Like one day you should just come to Edmonton just so you can meet her, so I can introduce you to her. She's close to the end of her career. I mean, she's done a lot, but I think she's nearing 65 already. Okay. But she decided to take me as her student, so I've started that. And that's my newest thing, I guess, and just trying to balance, my business with academia now, which is a whole different kind of ball game, Yeah. Yeah, what about you? Tell me about you.
So let's see. I started liking languages probably when I was like 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. I used to be pretty neutral towards them. Yeah. I wasn't like in love with them. Like it was just kind of a thing because at home I speak Gujarati. Yeah. And then I went to French immersion school. Nice. And then when I was 15 years old, I went to France on a 3-month exchange trip. Yeah. And when I came back, I found that my French was obviously a lot better. And all of a sudden, French class was really easy. When in the past, it was like, I don't know if it was hard, but it wasn't easy. Like, it was challenging enough, right? Like, it took mental effort. And then all of a sudden, French was like just easy. It just wasn't hard anymore. I was like, whoa, this is super weird. I went to France for 3 months. Now I'm back, and all of a sudden I'm just sitting here like, I just get it. It's just, so I was like, this is so weird. And then I was like, I had to pick an option in high school. Like, I had to pick another option class, and I picked Spanish. Yeah. So I started Spanish in high school. Nice. Liked Spanish, enjoyed it, found it fun. I similar to you, also did a language major. So I did French, double major French and Spanish.
Nice.
So similar to you in that sense, except at U of C, not U of A. I graduated. It would have been about 3.5 years ago, roughly, in 2014. Nice. And then I started to learn Mandarin about 3.5 years ago, actually. Right when I graduated, I started to learn Mandarin. And it's funny because so for work, I used to run a window cleaning business, of all things. So from the age of 18 to about, I'm 25 now, so 18 to like, would have been like 24, I ran a window cleaning business. So it was part-time. So it was like it was like part-time during the school year in university, full-time in like May to August during the break. Yeah. And then when I graduated, it was like full-time for a couple of years. Yeah. So 2 years. And then September of 2016, I stopped doing that. I traveled to China. Yeah. Mostly China, but also Taiwan, a little bit in Spain, a little bit in Morocco, but mostly China. Yep. And a little bit in the States too, actually. I was gone for traveled for roughly probably 4 months, but a little bit was back and forth. I travel one place, come back, travel, come back, but call it 4 months I was not in town, all that, not too much, 3-4 months. Yep. Yep. And then kind of February, March of this year, I was like, well, I'm not running the window cleaning anymore. I've been bumming around the house and traveling. I should probably get back to work. Yeah. And then I just started to just tutor, just part-time, just, French, Spanish, English. Yeah. And I was, to be honest, I was a little bit not confident that I could, like, work for myself and make a living for myself. I wasn't sure if I could do it. Yeah. Even though I did window cleaning for 6 years, like, it's a different thing. It's like a different business. I don't know if I could do it. Am I good enough? And I still kind of have those doubts a little bit, but less than before. Right. So I started with that, and then it was going well. It's like, finding students, started to do more and more and more, and now it's just my full-time. Mm-hmm. Half my life is, like, teaching, and half my life is, like, social media. Nice. So YouTube and posting on my daily vlogs and Instagram and Snapchat and blogs and podcasts, and so this kind of stuff.
That's so cool. Yeah. No, I just, right before I Skyped you, I looked at one of your videos on Facebook. It's like, damn, that's what it's all about. It's all about the pushing out content on social media. That's how you get to people nowadays. That's 100% it. So that's why I decided to pump, just do at least one little post a day on Instagram at least. But it's crazy who you can find out there. Just who's.
I saw your Instagram post about the guy doing the spoken word. In Spanish. Well, it was 2 or 3 different people, but the first one was like the guy did like Spanish, English, and was it a Spanish English? No, I think there's a third one, wasn't there?
Spanish English. I think he added a few words from other languages, but I didn't pick them up. I think maybe Hindi or something. I wasn't sure.
So he's learning those languages. He's like, is he fluent? Is he?
Yeah, like Anton is pretty. So he grew up bilingual French English, but he learned Spanish, and so he tries to like really push himself to write in these different languages, which I really admire. Right, I'm all about that. Like creative, like actual creative content in the languages you're learning. That's what fascinates me. So I connected with him, and he's also he's doing his PhD at University of Alberta as well. Mm-hmm. Great community up here. You should really come up here one day.
Well, I would be, I'm out of town for a little bit, but. I'd be very interested to come and check out even just your, I don't know if your office, your workspace, whatever you call it, your studio, I don't really know what you call it, but it'd be super cool to come check it out because, how do you, I'm very curious, how do you, so backstory, my big thing when it comes to teaching, like my biggest thing is I need to understand like how my student learns, and I have to figure out what we have to do to make that work. So whether it's, so some students just really want something pretty traditional, like what you might do in school, something relatively traditional. Actually, a surprising amount would, less or more than I thought, excuse me. And then for example, I just finished a lesson prior to this one. We had a huge breakthrough. I didn't even know this. I think he's pretty gifted musically. Okay. And, you know, it actually, for him, it works way more it seems to work way more, and he's way more interested in learning through music. So for me, my big thing is trying to figure out, you know, trying to reverse engineer the students and figure out what I need to do differently to help them learn fastest. Like, how do you teach through arts? I'm very curious. What do you do?
For sure. By the way, you remind me a lot of this guy named Gary Vee. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, actually. How come?
Yeah. No, just when you said reverse engineering the student, it made me think, yeah, that's Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks a lot about that. Fantastic. No, okay, so teaching through arts. Yeah, something that passions me so much, because I think people have kind of a false notion of creativity. Like, who is creative? Like, I'm not creative. Sure. I don't do art. I don't whatever. And so I try to really break through that at the beginning. Because I think every human being is creative, right? And whether you like music or painting or poetry or whatever it is, there is something in you that's creative, absolutely. So when you kind of adopt that as a methodology, of course, you have to know the students and what they're into and what they desire. For example, of course, adults especially love grammar. They love explicit grammar instruction. And sometimes we have to give that to them because they love that. But, you know, I try to push them to think of language in new ways, right? Not just grammar and vocabulary, because a lot of it is culture and, you know, the nonverbal aspects of communication, which you can get really interesting. You can get to it in an interesting way through the arts, right? So through teaching content, like I was telling you, the approach that I'm studying that I use is CLIL. So content and language integrated learning. Okay. So that means that the goal is really, it's not to teach about language. Like I'm your French teacher and I'm going to teach you about the French language and about the Francophone cultures. It's more like you are going to learn meaningful content that interests you.
But the medium is in French.
The medium is in French from the very get-go. Got it. You know, and it's so difficult because when you start with a beginner class, right, people expect, you know, to learn the alphabet, right, and then learn, you know, the basic stuff they assume we're going to learn, but I don't really do that. I contextualize it in a whole different way. Of course, getting to know the students and their interest from the get-go, but also just contextualizing it in a cultural, literary, artistic, scientific way, musical way. And I find that it keeps students more motivated because I feel like context and content working together like that really like makes students understand like, wow, okay, language is used in the real world for so many things, like functions and especially the creative functions. So it's really empowering for students to be able to create like a video or a painting or a song or, you know, a book in the second language. That's like a huge thing. So that's a little bit about what I do, but I feel where you're coming from. Like it's a tough balance of getting to know your students and what they need and require and think, the way that they think they learn, and also the way that you know from second language research that things can work even better for them, right? So that's where I'm at.
Well, it's like trying to balance what they think they need versus what, or even like what they want, not even what they think they need, some of what they want, versus what they actually, if they really wanted to acquire the language, what they'd actually need.
Exactly.
Right? So, like, I have students who, not too many of them, but I have some students who initially would say, oh, I want to learn the language because of, I want to learn the language. Like, I want to be able to speak it and listen, and I just want to know, and I want to be able to travel and not have to worry. But when you look at their actions, what they really want is they just want to be doing well in their tests at school.
That's right.
Right? And so what happens is that it's a very, I'm getting good at seeing that faster than I used to, and I'm getting good at addressing it, not in a bad way, but doing, hey, you told me you want to be good at speaking and listening to everything. Your actions are saying you want to pass your tests. I'm actually weirdly okay with doing whatever the heck you want to do. You want to go, but I need to know, because I'm gonna try and teach you differently if if I'm trying to help you really learn it. Then if you want to pass your test, and then it's really interesting to see where that goes. Some of them go, I really want to learn, and some go, actually, it's funny you say that. I actually probably do care more about passing tests. And then it's like, okay, great. Everything literally just goes to hacks. Like, okay, your teacher is giving you multiple choice. When you're looking at multiple choice, how do you just know that A and D are wrong? How do you know that without actually understanding anything about Spanish or French or whatever? Just like reading it, logically, how do you figure out that, oh, these have to be wrong? Like how do you, and like test hacks, and like now it's not language related. Now you're teaching how do you reverse engineer your class and your teacher.
That's right.
Like, can we understand your teacher and your class so you can go get an A? And
that's right. It's a whole other skill set to pass the test. You know, that's a whole other ball game.
That's how I played school. I didn't, because when I was in university and everything, you know, depends on the class, but a lot of the classes, they're not really teaching language, and I didn't like them, so I'd go, okay, how am I getting a B plus in this class? What do we have to do?
Right.
Just get this mark and just be done, and you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, for sure, sure. I think, and there's a lot, if we're talking about schools now and universities, there's a big gap between the way that we teach. So at the University of Alberta, we taught with a task-based language teaching approach or communicative language teaching. But the way we tested, you know, it was still a lot of like fill in the blanks and conjugations and things. So I think there's a lot of catching up in the field of assessment because we need to be able to do like a communicative test for students if that's what we're preaching. So that's tough. It's tough. All this balancing work we do for sure.
So your business is your full-time gig?
What's that?
It's your full-time gig, or is it part-time with your PhD?
Yeah. So the PhD is full-time.
Yeah.
And they also gave me a teaching appointment there. So I just taught a course for teachers about to go on their practicum for second languages. So they were going to teach, I guess they are now in classrooms teaching French, Spanish, Japanese, Ukrainian, Cree, ESL, ASL, Mandarin.
Interesting.
So really, really great. So now I'm sure Calgary has very similar bilingual programs, right? For schools.
Yeah, we have French immersion, and then you can also find Mandarin bilingual, Spanish bilingual, and I think those are it, but there might be others too, but there's definitely those ones.
I'm sure there are. Yeah, there's like Polish and Ukrainian and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for them to put into practice, I guess, what I've taught them in the last couple of months. So that was very exciting. So that pretty much took, you know, I wasn't able to I put a lot of things through my business on hold for those 2 months because it was an intensive course and I had to do just that essentially. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good mix. It's all related to language, which I love, right? So we'll see. Like once I finish this PhD, you know, I could go on and teach. My ideal dream is to teach teachers how to better teach languages. Like, you know what I mean? Teacher ed.
Yep.
So that's the ideal dream. But I know, you know, the chances of me getting tenure track, statistically speaking, are very low. So that's why I'm still keeping my business going, just, you know, even as an awareness tool, like on Instagram, because I'm aware of the fact that when I finish this doctorate, I might just start that up again, right? And see where that goes. So
is it on hold currently, or it's just part-time currently?
So it's not all on hold. Like, I guess for September, October, it kind of was. I kept a few private classes going and Skype because, you know, Skype is so easy, right? You can be like in your pajamas, like from here down. It's no big deal. But group classes I wasn't able to run. So usually I do my Spanish and art and French and art classes. I rent spaces at the Art Gallery of Alberta. I rent their studio spaces. Yep. I wasn't able to do that this fall so far. So we'll see where the next months go. I'm thinking of renting a new studio space and combining creative writing workshop with art.
Cool.
In French, Spanish, and Italian. So that's going to be my new project.
Nice.
Can't wait to get that started. Yeah.
Interesting. That's super cool.
So do you mostly teach on Skype or also
no,
like...
I do mostly...
Or?
I probably do a good 60... I'd have to look at it, but it's roughly 60, 65, 70% in person and then some on Skype.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
I used to do more Skype, then I got tired of sitting in my house all day.
Oh,
so I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I still do it, though.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I used to do it like a ton of, like 2015 to like, I guess 2017. I did a ton of like private, like one-on-ones and also just like private group. Yep. But man, I got so tired. Like, I know Edmonton is just like Calgary in the sense that our city's so spread out. So I was just stuck driving from neighborhood to neighborhood all day long. And I was like so exhausted. So I decided to rent more space where people come out to me rather than me go out to them.
Yep. I usually just go to the library. I'd help either one of two things. They meet three options. Meet me in a library. We do it on Skype. Third option is I've recently, probably a few weeks ago, hired a couple of tutors.
Oh, nice.
will travel to different locations, but even them, like I'll never, I mean, maybe I'll change it, but as of right now, I don't make them drive around.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, you're gonna be drive here, and you're there for an hour or two. Like, you're not gonna be driving there, then here, then there, then over there, then here, then there, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. Nice. Good for you. Like, hiring teachers is a big step.
Yeah, it's just more relief. I mean, they don't do much. Like, it's 99% me. Mm-hmm. It's more, because I also, like, without going crazy, like, numbers here, but, like, to scale a language teaching business through tutors is just ugly. There's a lot of people, and there's not a lot of money that you make off of them.
I feel you, homie. I feel you. 100%.
So I would much rather, I was thinking on it, I decided I would much rather have small groups that I run.
Right.
I take everything, but if I get someone who doesn't fit into like a group scenario that I have, I can pass it off to a tutor. Exactly. And I don't make that much money on it. Now I make nowhere near, like I make like a quarter, if that, of what, maybe less than that, of what I normally would on it. But at least it's not better than zero, and then maybe I can get them back to a group later, like, then it still keeps the door open. So 99% is still me, but like, for example, I'm in Toronto next week, end of this week and next week, so I had someone off my YouTube who hired me to fly down and work with them, which is super cool.
That's amazing.
I know! And so, but then while I'm gone, like, some of my students need to, like, be taught, so I have tutors that can take them as, like, a substitute, so.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great backup for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So no, you're heading towards amazing big things here. I can see it. I mean, especially with the social media thing, like you can move towards even more passive income that you get through a course that you create online or something, you know? Yeah. There's the potential for that is huge.
It's so funny. Everybody, like literally, everyone tells me that. I don't know why I fight against that. I'm really weird. So I'm stubborn.
Why?
And then people, well, I'm just stubborn. Like I like to just do what I think. And if I didn't think of it, what happens that people tell me, and it sits in my, no, it's a pattern. I already know what's going to happen. It sits in my brain for like a long time. And I don't know how long, a year, a month, like it's just a long time. And then one day I'll be like, hey, do you know me a really good idea? What I've forgotten that people told me? Like, hey, do you know me a really good idea if I make like this? And they go, yeah, like we told you like 3 years ago. Did you really? Oh yeah, you did.
That's funny. Holy shit.
It's I don't know why, but
everything in due time.
I don't know. Yeah, it's always that way, but I'm very aware that I operate that way.
For sure. Like where do you personally see yourself going with this business you created this year, right?
Yeah, this year.
This year? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just so for the time being, I want to keep the one thing that's probably I'm pretty sure. Well, let's say this. For sure, I'm gonna keep pushing on my YouTube and my Instagrams and my Facebooks and my podcasts and all that stuff. I'm gonna keep pushing on those. Keep pushing for new students and just keep going. I mean, it's really early. It's just like February to now is not even.
Yeah.
What is that? 7 months?
Yeah.
8 months, right? 8 months.
Yeah.
That's nothing. Like it's a. Like I feel like I just started because I was 6 years of my life was window cleaning.
Right.
Like hiring window cleaners, hiring managers, hiring salespeople, like dealing with like damaged property, dealing with like people quitting, like complaints, and then travel like every 3 weeks being on a plane because I'd be traveling different cities to work with different people working in different places and just.
How did you get into that? Sorry to interrupt. How did you get into that?
It's a franchise. So I started off as a franchisee.
Yep.
For 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, well, it's not true. 3 years franchisee.
Yeah.
1 year of franchisee and doing some things on the full-time team. That was my last year of university. Okay. 2 years of working on the on the full-time side, on the franchisor side.
Yeah.
So I was I don't know exact dates. It's roughly half of a year in a role called a field advisor, which was basically I guess you could say like a. Think of it as like a manager for like a city, something like that. Roughly a city, maybe a little less, and give or take, call it. Weirdly, I was also operating some of the states for some reason. It was kind of an interesting point in the company, and then I did roughly a year and a half of running just Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, so kind of central, western, awesome. Central Canada.
Yeah.
So 60, that was like my life.
You have lots of business experience. That's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. So that was my life. Like I probably put more time into that than my school.
Damn.
Like, or equal amount. I don't know more, but maybe not more, but a very, like when I think back, yeah, like there would be days where I'm like in my Spanish or French class, like doing like admin. Like if your laptop's open, it's like, what are we talking about? Cervantes? I might as well pull up my spreadsheet.
That's such an interesting story, though. I mean, from window cleaner, business manager to like polyglot.
Yeah. So but languages I've always liked. It's not like I just jumped into languages like I've always like not always, but a long time. It just made sense. Like, but yeah, it just made sense. It just felt like the right move after. So I felt like the right thing to get into.
Absolutely.
But it's just so
like,
early.
Incorporated down in Calgary? Like, did you?
No, just me. It's just just me.
Yeah, just you.
Yeah,
cool.
It's cheaper for now. So I mean, I don't. Yeah. It's no need to incorporate now, but.
Yeah, maybe in the future sometime.
Yeah. But
cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah, man, we should collaborate one day. You know, I'm thinking my mind's just going crazy with ideas.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Can I like just spit out a bunch of them, and then you can spit out a bunch that have gone through your head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Here's a bunch that I would love to do a piece where I come down to your studio in Edmonton. And we do where we do like a video of like how you teach and really do a full like expose on it.
Wow, that'd be
super cool. Also, I do a thing on my YouTube called 5-minute language chats.
Yeah.
I bring someone on, we chat. I say 5 minutes, it's never 5 minutes. Especially, I think ours will be much longer than 5 minutes. I'll probably call it like the 50-minute language chat or something. I don't know, we'll see. But we just, a lot of stuff we talk about now would be cool to talk about like in an actual interview style. Like I'm going to include a lot of this. Like here, let's do this. This will be fun. Say hi.
How's it going? Fantastic.
So, I mean, there's a lot of, there we go. So, yeah, it'd be cool to do like an interview and, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff, but I think those would be two things that'd be super cool to do either way.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. Vice versa. I mean, I was thinking even down the line. I mean, not now because this is crazy, but right now, like this week, I'm organizing an online conference. So it's happening tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's related to Ukraine, so it's not really like a worldwide thing, but there are people who are going to tune in worldwide. So basically, it's all about the language situation in Ukraine and the whole huge mess that's happening there.
I'm like a headline reader on it, so I'm not an expert like generally overall.
But you have like a general idea, like Russia, like there was a huge process of Russification, so many Ukrainians are bilingual or they speak Russian as a first language, and yet they still consider themselves Ukrainian. So we have this big online conference, so people are like submitting their presentations to me, and I have to do a lot of work to make them into videos and all this stuff. So in the future, like, how they have those polyglot conferences? Like, I've never gone to them, but there was that one in Montreal.
Yeah, I went to that one.
Did you go to the one in Montreal?
I did.
Yeah. I saw that. So, I don't know. I think they brought out Crashin, which I was like, damn, I can't believe I missed
Smart dude.
Crashin.
Smart dude.
Freaking amazing. So yeah, I was thinking we could one day do like an online conference or even something for Alberta. There's nothing like that in our province. Cool. Somewhere down the line. I'm thinking big, but it's doable with today's technology. I mean, everyone could submit a 15-minute video of them talking about something that passions them. So, yeah. Are
you going to Langfest next year in Montreal?
So when exactly is it?
August. I have the dates, but I don't know. I can find them quickly. Isn't August?
Yeah.
It's July, August. Here we go. It's the... here it is, 24th, 25th, 26th of August.
Oh, okay. That's actually pretty good. I think I can definitely make it out to that. 24, 25, 26. Unless I'm in Europe, I think I can come to that.
Cool.
And I love Montreal, so any chance to get down there is great. Good. And then I heard, there's that other one, like in freaking Slovenia, like in October 5th, 6th.
Oh, next year.
Something? Yeah, October of next year.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's.
So I'd like to make it out to that too, but that's far.
That's far. It's a little more expensive.
Yeah, it's so expensive, but yeah, it'd be great to meet out all these people that have been like following on Instagram.
Yeah, no, it is cool. It is really. It's weird. So when I went, there's a couple of people that I knew were going that followed me.
Yeah.
And some of them I didn't know. Like some people, like there's one probably maybe one or two people who walked up and said, "Oh, you're Azren." And I was like, "Oh, you're so and so." Oh, cool. I didn't know. Yeah, and it's really funny because like it's super weird to see people in person that you follow because they know so much about you.
Yes.
And you might not know anything about them. So they'll ask you questions like, "Oh, how's your sister? How is her? Blah blah blah." It's like, I didn't tell you. Oh, right. I talked. Right. Of course, I did tell you. Like indirectly.
Exactly.
Yeah. But,
that's so funny. Who was like the biggest highlight for you over there?
The biggest. So, the reason I went was for networking purposes. Mm-hmm. So the biggest highlight was that I got to meet some pretty cool people, and I'm volunteering at Langfest next year.
Nice.
I'm actually I'm working on some stuff this year for next year as a volunteer.
Good stuff. Good.
And then I also I was volunteering with Link. Do you know Link or Link U?
No.
It's like an app. It's like a language learning app. Actually, you know Steve Kaufman?
No.
No. He's a big name in like language learning.
What's his name?
Steve Kaufman.
Kaufman.
Yeah. So I was volunteering with them for a couple of at least a couple of months at least. And then
you wrote The Linguist. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Cool. So it was for a couple of months I was volunteering on their Instagram, running their Instagram.
Yeah.
Recently we were chatting and I'm going to be doing some part-time work for them.
Nice.
In some different areas, not on their Instagram. We're moving away from that, but there's some other things that they feel like I can help with, and I feel like I can help with. So just part time, nothing crazy, but So yeah, like I think some of the big things were like I went for networking purposes, and I got to meet some cool people and got some things in the works that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gone. So
fantastic, that's so good. I mean, that's how you build these connections, like real human connections.
Yeah, I know it's true. So
yeah, good stuff.
Anyway, I have to cut this here because I have to teach in about a little under half an hour, so I have to go drive and get ready and everything.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okie dokie.
All right, Adrian, you have a good time.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
And talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Straight fire. It's amazing, guys. I love that. It's really interesting for me when you're talking to someone and who really, when you're talking to someone about languages and you're like, they get it. Like you're on the same wavelength and you're like, yeah, you're smart. You understand it. Because most people who teach, a lot of people that teach that I meet don't get it. They're not. They do not understand language education. That is not their forte. That's not. They don't get it. And what's fascinating, this is going to go a really weird direction, but I want to take it in this direction. How do I phrase this? I don't consume a lot of language learning content. I don't like read research papers. I don't watch really any videos. I don't really follow anyone that closely. I just don't, right? A lot of it just comes from my own brain. It's just natural. It's in me. Like I'm just so entrenched. A lot of it comes to me. And it's so fascinating to hear stuff that reflects exactly what I believe, but is based on science. So when Adriana talked about I think it was CLIL or CLIL, the content learning integration, I don't know what it was. And I was reading about it while we're talking. And I was like, yup, exactly. Like I believe this. This is the core element of what I do when I teach. Like I teach look at my Instagram. Like I teach through drawing sometimes. I'll teach through, like making a video. I'll teach through something else. I use something else as the medium while I'm teaching a language. It's something I just do because it works, right? It works so well. And it's really cool to see that when there's actual theories about stuff that I just do, not because I read about it and wanted to do it, but just because it's my natural state to go, oh, I think that will work. And it's funny, right? Because I feel like the second I hear about these studies, I feel like if I did a little bit more research and I actually spent time on the research side, I'd be like on fire. Like I would really take off in terms of my teaching skill. Because if I did that, I feel like I'd be aware of certain little things that I'm already unconsciously aware of, but not consciously aware of. That if I was consciously aware of, I could do it because I know about it. But I don't know. It's just not my. I don't know. I just don't feel like doing the research. It doesn't feel natural to me. So I'll just keep going as I do. And That was amazing, guys. Straight frickin' fire. Amazing stuff. Stoked. Super stoked.